Hello, Jenny Hall here for Honey Bee Stamps. Today I'm sharing a card idea that is full of beautiful neutral tones. We are using the Woodland Winter Animals stamps and dies together with the Birch A2 cover plate base and top die. My sentiment is going to come from Pretty Poinsettia stamps and dies, as there are so many beautiful sentiments in that stamp set. I'm going to use the Hexagon Palm Blender brush from Honey Bee Stamps and add a hint of color to the die cuts. I've pre-cut all of these dies off camera, and this is 80-pound cardstock. If I were to use 110-pound cardstock, it would definitely be a little stronger, but I don't want to get too much bulk on my card front. So I find that just moving the brush in an outward motion is really good in order not to buckle those dies. Those little die cut areas sometimes can be a little thin, and they can kind of tear and move in places that I don't want. I made sure that the one with more trees, which is the bottom plate, was a darker brown than the top. I've secured my card base down to my work surface with a piece of Post-it tape and will now use some beautiful rich colors of Distress Oxide ink. This card does not use too many different colors. Instead, I think it's really great to be able to get a variety of colors from what we have on hand. I'm going to lighten up the browns as I move up to the top area of the card base, and I'm also careful not to use too heavy of a hand when applying the ink down to the paper. This is such a beautiful, rich tone. It reminds me of a nice, beautiful cup of coffee in a clear mug. And I'm going to add a few water droplets. Now remember, Distress Oxide ink is water reactive, so the colors are going to get a little bit hazy and change a bit when water is applied, and that's perfect for this project. To add just a little bit of shine, I've added one spritz from some shimmer mist from Hero Arts. I don't want too much, just a hint of shine. You can also achieve this by using some diluted Perfect Pearls powder. I'm using that same stamp pad to keep the colors all together in the same vein and adding on some clear embossing powder on top of the watercolor paper. This is going to allow me to watercolor the images, and the ink color is going to match the colors that are in my background. I'm going to do the watercoloring with 3 different colors of Distress Oxide ink. I'll have a little spritz of water off to the side just to get my paintbrush a little extra wet. So if you see me dipping the tip of that brush to the top of the paper, then that's what I'm grabbing, is some clear water. It's really great to every now and again do some coloring with a little bit of a different medium. Distress oxides are great for lots of different uses, but it's not something that comes to mind whenever I think about sitting down to watercolor an image. First of all, they are water reactive, so the color's going to change a little bit. However, with this project, I could have used regular Distress ink and the colors would match, and they may have worked better in order to kind of move around together on the paper. But there was something appealing to me to be able to use exactly the same ink that was used on the background. I've also colored this image in Copic colors, and if you stay tuned to the end of the video, then I'll show you what that project looks like as well. So it's like a bonus card today. First, I started off by adding some clear water to each of the images, and then just by dipping in the brush to the oxide ink on my work surface, I'm adding the color to the outside edges of the image. Nothing special, no fancy techniques, just adding some color around the shadowed areas. The distress oxides are working out just fine for doing the coloring, and I really like the results that are coming. It's not a crisp, clear, translucent look after the project finishes drying. Instead, it has a little bit of a hazy look. And I think that's great for a fall or a Christmas card because it kind of looks a little old-fashioned to me. That's the thought that I had in mind whenever I was creating this project and choosing the colors. I really like the look of the aged mahogany. It's a red, but it's so brown in ways that I thought it would work perfectly for the neutral tones in this project. I'm going to use the coordinating dies to crop all of the images and then use some honeybee stamps, precision tip glue to adhere all of the images down to the card front. Now here's that beautiful card front again with those beautiful browns of the distress oxide. And I did end up tearing the very bottom part of the base die cut, but it's okay. Once it is glued down in place, no one will ever see it. In fact, the top portion goes right on top of the base and it will be covered up completely. So I will not need to worry about there being a tear or an area of the card that's not going to be as strong whenever it goes through the mail. Now here is the reason that I wanted the top plate to be lighter. I wanted the darker trees to appear as if they are more in the distance than the trees that were in the front. Here is our little bear friend, and the really fun part for me was having all of these beautiful little birds to play with. So I decided to just place the birds around and have one even be on the bear's paw since his paw was raised, and it was a perfect opportunity to put the bird. And then I discovered that I could just slide them in between those tree branches. So I went back and moved one of the birds as well. Here's the sentiment that is from the Pretty Poinsettia stamp and die set, and I've used that same brown ink here as well. So we've really used a limited number of supplies to create this project. I'm using the coordinating die in order to crop the sentiment, which is one of my favorite aspects about the stamp and die sets from Honeybee Stamps. I really enjoy there being a way for my sentiment to be perfectly cropped out, and it looks so nice and neat on my finished project. The Farm Fresh Holiday Gem Stickers are some absolutely beautiful color tones, and once I pulled them out to add a few gems to this project, I realized that those color tones perfectly match all the neutral tones of this card. Really cool. Now I am going to show you what the bonus card project looks like. I created the background the same way, but only used the top plate of the birch trees, and all the images are colored in Copics. So which version do you like the best? Do you like the one that has Copic coloring or the oxide watercoloring with many more trees? I'd love to hear in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please subscribe and hit the bell to be notified for more projects.